Well, hello. It has been a long time since my last video upload. Briefly, let me catch up on things. Since the last video I uploaded a few months ago, I drove 3,000 miles from Alaska to Colorado, began my PhD here at CSU, and I've been snowboarding a lot and living on my own for the first time in my life, and school's going pretty great. I've snowboarded 21 days this winter already. That's going pretty great. I got these new glasses. These are brand new. First time wearing glasses ever in my life. Reason being, to get my Colorado driver's license, I was forced to get them because I had barely failed the vision test. So there's that. But on this Sunday afternoon, I am taking the time to review a game again, because I was giving my body a break from all the snowboarding I've been doing. I got a little beat up in my most recent trip, so I need to recover. So I played some games for the last few days, a lot, and just this morning, or like a couple hours ago, beat this game, Wild Arms, for the original PlayStation. A JRPG that I've been meaning to play. I've had this in my collection ever since I was back in Alaska. Also one of the oldest games that's been in my stack of things to play, and I finally played it, finally beat it, just today, and can give a review of it while it's fresh on my mind. So, Wild Arms. I'll go category to category, as I usually do in my reviews, to give a thorough analysis of this game. So, firstly, story and characters of Wild Arms. The story is kind of your predictable good versus evil, save the world scenario for a JRPG, so it's nothing really new. There's a pretty deep and complicated history to the game world, though, and lots of different forces and characters and groups, all kind of tangled up in the mythology of Filgaia, which is the world of Wild Arms, and to be honest, it's a little convoluted and ill-defined in some ways to me, and especially the villainous forces in this game, like, they did not seem very cohesive to me, and often like they were changing a lot throughout the game, and like at any given moment it was not totally clear or just well defined, like who is the evil force you're fighting and what their objective is and why their objective is that. You know what I mean? So but the protagonists, you've got three main protagonists from different walks of life. There's Rudy, who's this, like, his occupation in the manual is literally listed as outcast. He's the sort of silent, mysterious outcast type, like teenager in age. And then there is Cecilia, who is this like royal princess, and she's also about the same age as Rudy, like a teenager, and you know, she's like this heir to a kingdom, so she has that like royal heir responsibility and burden on her, and that's kind of what you learn more about in her backstory. She is like the mage type character of your group. She casts a lot of magic and whatnot. Then there is the last guy, Jack, who's probably a decade older than the other two, and he's just some wandering treasure hunter dude who uses a sword and has a little sidekick animal called Hanpan. little rat, guy, this little blue rat. I don't know if Hanpan is male or female, to be honest. Yeah, that's like your main cast of characters. What I want to say about these protagonists, though, is that they are like, they have their different walks of life with their unique backgrounds, but they're not very well characterized. Like, even just finishing the game today, I couldn't really tell you very many unique adjectives I would use to describe each one of them. They were kind of like, I don't know, just sort of not really, they just didn't have really well-defined personalities to me. Reading their dialogue throughout the game, a lot of it just seemed like it wasn't giving me a true insight into those characters, or like really impressing on to me like what they're all about and like what their backgrounds are in more depth. Like it just didn't seem very well defined, these characters. I'll say Cecilia, the princess, is probably the most well-defined character, gets the most characterization, but the other two, like Jack and Rudy, we get little hints into their pasts, but even after beating the game, I don't have a clear idea in my mind of what exactly happened in their pasts, or what exactly they did in the past that made them who they are. Like, their pasts were touched on, but not fleshed out in a meaningful way to me. That's what I'll say. There is a good bit of comedy mixed into the game. Lots of side supporting characters you meet throughout the game who help you out on your quest will add bits of comedy and funny scenes. There's a little bit of banter between your characters. So that's nice to see. It's always nice to be having a little bit of comedy mixed in with the drama in these world-saving scenarios. I don't have too much to say else about the story and the characters. It's pretty predictable, somewhat generic stuff for one of these PlayStation JRPGs. If you've played any of these older ones, you will know what to expect, and it won't be all that surprising to you. Onto the gameplay. So, Wild Arms has a pretty good mix of exploration, battle, and like a little bit of platforming elements in the dungeons. This is something I've noticed all the Wild Arms games have that I've played. I've played Wild Arms 2 and 3. I actually played 3 first, then 2, and now this one, the first one. I'm playing them out of order, the first 3 games. So the platforming, it's kind of hit and miss to me. Like in these dungeons, there are puzzles you have to solve. Mostly you're like throwing switches and things and pushing blocks around. You're using unique tools each character has that they discover throughout the game to navigate these puzzles, and like Rudy uses bombs, for instance, to blow things up. Some of the tools seemed a bit lamer than others, and like they had much more limited uses. And some of the puzzles, I have to say as well, were just frankly lame. This is a complaint I have. A lot of them they were either tedious and felt like, why are you making me do this? Like, I shouldn't have to do this. Like, this is just tedious and lame, and can we just skip through this tedious stuff so I can just get through the dungeon? Because it's not that challenging, it's just kind of a pain and takes time. Also, some of the puzzles in this game, and this goes for some of the overarching, just like not knowing what to do, like whether you know what to do in the plot, as well as like individual puzzles. the thing is, some of them are just too cryptic. They're just way too cryptic, and they don't give you sufficient clues to really guide you where to go. And I hate to say it, but many times, multiple times, I had to resort to consulting guides, walkthroughs online to beat this game. There was just no hope of doing it without them. I like to think I'm pretty observant and thorough about finding my way through games like this, but I just could not get through a few areas or a few parts of the story. I didn't know what to do. I had to consult guides, which I hate doing. It makes me feel pathetic to do that, because like when I play a game, I want to play through it on my own without any help, just by virtue of my own cleverness, you know? But I couldn't do that with Wild Arms. It was just a few moments were just too vague, and there were things that I just never would have figured out on my own. So it's possible you might be able to if you're just very patient and very thorough and really don't mind talking to everybody and looking absolutely everywhere. But there are little specific triggers, like talking to one certain person or doing one certain thing or going a certain place that you don't have any clue nothing has clued you in you should go there. Stuff like that just, it made it kind of a drag, and made me have to consult guides. So that kind of sucked and made me feel pathetic, but there's that. Oh, by the way, I got this new Shinra coffee mug when I got down here. Had to have a mug to drink my coffee out of. The company takes pretty good care of me, yeah. Just wanted to mention that. Anyway, where was I? Other things about gameplay. So, the battle is good. It's good, turn-based JRPG battle in Wild Arms, and the mechanics are sound, controls are sound, battle animations go decently quick. There's a variety of specialized techniques each character can use. Each of those three main characters are very well specialized in this game, though. Don't expect a lot of customization between each of them in terms of like deciding what you want each of them to do. Like, it's set in stone that Cecilia is your healer type magic user. Rudy uses guns, or arms, they're called in the Wild Arms universe. And the other guy, Jack, uses swords. So you kind of have like two fighter types and one magic user. And you can't really get out of those roles. Like, those roles are the roles you have to accept for each character. It is a bit annoying that... Okay, so like, random encounters are a thing you have to deal with in these games, but it is annoying that it is really hard to run away from enemies in this game. Unless you're like ridiculously overleveled, like so overleveled for the enemies that you're just like in an area that you started the game in, coming back to it like 10 hours later, which you never do. Unless that is the case, you're almost never going to be able to run from enemies in this game. Like, in a dungeon that is the current place you're supposed to be, where enemies are competitive with your levels, 90% of the time, if you try running away, you're just going to fail and your enemies are going to get free hits on you. And I tried running away like 10 times in a row once and couldn't do it. So it's really annoying that you're forced to do battle in the dungeons in this game. Pretty much. You don't really have a lot of choice about it. But on the other hand, it is good to grind through those battles for experience and get leveled up so the bosses aren't too hard. And I didn't think there was too much challenge in the battles of this game. Like, there was some, but the difficulty was like where it was where it should be. Like, not too hard, not too easy, and always completing the random encounter battles and getting that experience every time you got into one definitely helped. There are a lot of boss battles in this game. In the last 5 hours I played yesterday and today, I got actually kind of tired of it and sort of frustrated. Like, I was really wanting this game to wrap itself up at the end. It was just like these long dungeons of tedious puzzles, tons of random encounters, and boss fight after boss fight. That's kind of what the end of this game was like for me. And I kinda got a little sick of it, I'm gonna be honest. Yeah, that's about all I want to say about the gameplay. It's overall pretty solid. It's overall a pretty fun game to play. I just had a few minor complaints there. I'll move on to like presentation areas now. So starting with the visuals are pretty good, I have to say. Like, I think it looks great. I think this game looks great. Graphically, it reminds me a lot of Golden Sun, or rather, I should say, Golden Sun reminds me of Wild Arms, because Golden Sun is a GBA game that, of course, came out a few years after this one. But like the sprites and the environments, it's reminiscent of Golden Sun if you happen to have played that game or be familiar with it. Things look colorful. There's a good variety of locales you explore in the game. So you'll be going to places like lots of caves, creepy castles, and also on occasion like a snowy mountain, which is awesome. Quite a few other places as well though. Also, in battle, one thing that's a little strange is your party kind of has this chibi sort of style look to them. Like, your three main characters look all tiny and stout and kind of cute, while all your enemies, even like human-like ones, will be bigger and like they'll have more complex polygons, which is a little weird, but I didn't mind it too much. Also, a lot of the bosses and enemies, their character models, like their 3D character models, look pretty good. Like, there's some pretty cool looking monsters in this game for sure. So that's the visuals. Battle animations are not the best. I mean, a lot of them look sort of plain and not all that flashy, but the guardians that you can summon, which are like, you know, analogous to the summons you would use in Final Fantasy or something, those animations look pretty cool, most of them. So on to audio. Audio is kind of a mixed bag, like a lot of things with Wild Arms. One thing I'll say right away is that the sound effects in battle are not the best. That's like the weakest part of the audio. A lot of the monsters will have these like cries that are recycled and reused, and on occasion I would even come across a battle where two different kinds of monsters would make the exact same sound when you like hit them, and they were not similar looking monsters, so it was kind of weird. And the sound effects, like I said, are a little bit cheap, these monsters make. You notice it with the first monsters you encounter in the game, really. Some of them have this weird sound that sounds kind of like a chimpanzee, like a low-quality sampling of a chimpanzee, oddly enough. And they're not primate-like monsters at all making these sounds, so that's weird. Another one is this weird sound, which, I kid you not, is directly taken out of the Lion King game for Super Nintendo. If you have played that game or have seen that at all, it's the sound Simba makes when he is hurt. And some of the enemies in Wild Arms, this JRPG, that came out later make that sound, the same sound Simba makes. That's weird. I don't know. I guess they're drawn on the same sample bank as the makers of the Lion King game. Odd. What else to say? So, moving on to better things about the audio, though. The music is something I have to compliment Wild Arms for. The music is fantastic. Fantastic music. It's like a full orchestrated soundtrack, and from the tunes you hear in towns, to battle, to tense scenes, to comedic scenes, everything just fits, sets atmosphere, and it's a lush, beautiful soundtrack. It just is. It's a pleasure to listen to. Lots of PlayStation era JRPGs have this going for them, I find. They have these just great orchestrated soundtracks. I don't know what it was about that era, but it sounds really great, for sure. So I don't know if I have too much else to say about Wild Arms. That's pretty much it. It's a pretty good game. I would definitely suggest you check this game out if you're interested in older style JRPGs and haven't played it. My playthrough ran about 35 hours. 35 hours is how long it took me. And also, I was kind of rushing to beat it, so I wasn't doing like many optional side quests or anything. I kind of just wanted to get through this game because, I don't know, just the random encounters and sometimes tedious dungeons and all the boss fights, they just started to wear on me a bit, to be honest. But the length of the game is, you know, sort of middle of the road or even on the short side for one of these JRPGs. But yeah, that's Wild Arms. It's got some flaws, but also some really good things going for it. So check it out if you are so inclined. Peace out.